I would like to give you a simple talk down while sipping some of my drink to help you drift off to sleep. I'd like to tell you a little story about something that happened to me. Well, something that happens to me. Quite, not a lot, but, often enough to merit making a video about it. I don't know if I've already mentioned it before, but one of the reasons that I started making ASMR videos, well, one of the reasons I started watching ASMR videos was because I had a phobia, and this phobia was, it's almost a little embarrassing. This phobia was of the dark. Usually that's just something that children deal with, and I did have it as a child. In fact, it was just as bad in my childhood as it is now, if not maybe now a little worse. No, I think I'm getting better at it now. I can't really explain the reason. I guess that's what a phobia is, really. It's an irrational fear of something that logic tells you there's no reason to fear that badly, but you fear it anyway. Like, people have a phobia of, well, I won't go into what people have phobias of in case it's your phobia, and I don't want to make you think about it. But you know what I mean. And this phobia conflicts very heavily with my love of scary movies, scary videos that I like to watch, mystery videos, interesting, like, paranormal kind of things I like watching for some reason. And the other night I gave in to my desire to watch videos like that in the evening time, which was very dumb. And what happened was, obviously, my phobia of the dark was triggered very badly. And I could not sleep at all. One of the reasons that I would watch ASMR is because I had this phobia, and ASMR made me feel comforted and like I had a friend with me. And like I wasn't alone, and it was light and it was noise that kind of counterbalanced the dark and the silence, which I don't like. But I didn't have access to anything that night, so I had to rely solely on my brain power, solely on my imagination to try and help me. And I closed my eyes. I pulled my covers over my head, which I don't usually do. And I thought of the most relaxing things I could. I went and thought of the most comforting things from my childhood. And it seems really silly, but it helped me. I imagined being a child again, and I brought back fairy tale figures from my childhood who used to comfort me and bring me joy. And I found that they still do, if I think about them. And I'd like to walk you through the visualizations I had, and maybe it can help you visualize those things as well. I closed my eyes and I took some deep breaths. In the background, I started hearing voices of loved ones. I imagined my mother's voice. I imagined the voice of my grandmother. I imagined the memory I had of when I used to bend down and kiss her and greet her and give her a light hug. Because I always had to bend down to her since she was in a wheelchair. And my grandmother's voice was always so sweet and so comforting. Every time I spoke to her, she would pick up the phone and she'd say hello. And I'd say, "Hi Mimi, how are you?" I called her Mimi. And she'd say, "Oh, I'm fine. Hi baby, how are you?" And she was always so warm and sweet. And I always felt like I had a safe place when I was with her, and also with my mother. But grandmas are special like that. And then I went even further and I started imagining I was in a little cottage and there was a warm fireplace. And my favorite fairy tale characters were in the cottage with me. And I visualized them hugging me and smiling. And they turned around and they locked the doors. And they closed all the blinds and the windows so we were safe. We were safe in a safe cottage. And every now and then, the bad things I would think about would try to creep into the edges. But then I'd remember, I'm in my safe little cottage. They can't get in here. They can't get in here. It's just me and my friends, and we're in this safe little cottage together. I visualized a nice, rolling, warm fire in the fireplace. And if I had a bad thought, I visualized physically taking it out of my head and throwing it into the fireplace. watching it burn away. And my favorite fairy tale friends were sat across from me. They would offer me gingerbread cookies and different drinks and fun things that I used to really like and that I still like. Little plates of perfect little cookies and cakes, and I would eat them. And I would visualize and try to remember exactly how they tasted, exactly the texture of each bite, what it smelled like, what it felt like in my hand. And everything was okay. I visualized myself as a child. And all the problems of the adult world were gone. All that I was left with was a childhood state of happiness and bliss and innocence. And all of my friends were all there to support me. And we played games together. And there was music. And I could talk to them about anything that I was afraid of, or anything I felt concerned about. And again, if those thoughts came back, I took them out of my head and threw them in the fire. Sometimes I needed help doing that, and one of my friends would throw it in the fire for me. I could talk to these friends and they would listen and be patient and understand. And it was very comforting to feel like I was taken care of and like somebody was watching over me. And I imagined the chair I was in was a really big, plush, oversized chair. And since I was such a small child, it was even bigger. So when I was ready, I grabbed a blanket and I curled up in the chair. And the fire was still rolling, and my friends were still there. And the cookies were by the table, or on the table by me. And the doors were still locked. And the windows were all secured. And I was able to close my eyes. And I asked my friends if they would stay with me. And they said yes. Of course we will. And everyone smiled, and everyone was kind, and everyone was comforting. And I felt safe. And the room was dimly lit, but warm and lit enough that there was a nice cheerful glow over everything. And as I started to drift to sleep, I realized nothing bad was going to happen. And that I had friends who acted like spiritual soldiers. They were there guarding me. And these friends were kind, but they were strong. And they were a small army. Nothing could defeat if something tried, it would not even wake me, because they would fight for me, and they would always win. Because I chose to make these friends of mine stronger than me, and stronger than anything I could come up with that was bad. And you know, this visualization became so powerful that I was no longer afraid. I was okay. And the music began to get lower and lower and lower and lower. And everything went more and more quiet. And the fire started to dim a little bit. But it was okay because it was supposed to do that. And it was supposed to be comforting. And it was supposed to be warm and cheerful and safe. And then I don't remember what happened after that because I fell asleep. I fell asleep and I was calm and in a good state of mind and happy, and I felt protected. And the dreams that I had after that were lovely, charming, cheerful, and bright. In fact, the dream I had after that, I was in a paradise, and it was wonderful. So, if you would like, you can use this as well. You can use it to fall asleep, and you can use it perhaps to go to your own paradise.